Welcome back to Mr. Obsolete's Vintage Homesteading. Today we're going to have an overview of our Stihl 034 AV. We just ran it for the first time, received it just recently in the last video, and it's I wanted to talk about the goods and bads on it. It's kind of an anomaly, and it's the reason I say that is it's got the power of a professional saw, but it's built in a really cheap homeowner's chassis. Well, like I say, this saw is kind of a weird saw. The header of the video says, "A wolf in sheep's clothing." And the reason I say that is it's got pro power in a cheap chassis. I know what you're thinking though. Mr. Obsolete, should be a wolf in sheep's clothing. You just don't know how to spell. Well, actually I do. Sheep is spelled S-H-E-E-P, and cheap is C-H-E-A-P. So anyway, like I say, this is a pretty unusual saw. So we're going to go over and talk about and show the different features on it, good and bad. Well, first off, we're going to talk about the specifications of this saw. So they made these from 1984 until 1993. It's 57 cc and 11.6 pounds, no bar chain on it. It runs wide open at 13 grand, idles at 2700. Has a 3/8 chain. Now this bar and chain I had to swipe off my other Stihl because the bar that came on it was not usable. And but it is a 3/8 chain. And the thing that causes a lot of issues with this saw is, like I say, it has a lot of good features, a lot of not so good features, and it's kind of a strange mix. So anyway, we'll go over them here. Now the first feature we're going to talk about is the starter on this saw. Get it ready to come off, and as you can see, it's really easy to fix. You just pull this clip off and there's the starter dog right there. When you pull this, it comes out. And if you look real close, you can see right here that the whole end of it's mashed over. So it's what I call easy to fix and cheesy made. Easy and cheesy. Okay, well, I'm going to run down to the local Stihl dealer and get a new starter pawl. So anyway, I'll see you when I'm there. Okay, I'm just about to the front door there. This is all make-believe, of course, but anyway, anytime I go to a Stihl dealer, my arms get really tired because they're such robbers. So anyway, I'll ask him, do you have a starter pawl for an 034? Uh-huh. Oh, great. Well, you can get one for me then, and can I set this down?
Yeah.
Okay, here. Well, here comes my part. Oh, great. Can I have my wallet back? Can I put my hands down?
Yep.
Oh, looks like I had just the right amount of money to pay for that starter pawl there. Only $42. What a bargain. Okay, well, we're going to change the starter pawl here, so we take this clip off here. And take out the starter pawl. Really easy. You can see on the pawl there's a pivot point here, and then there's a pin on the top. And the pin fits in this spring and slides into the slot and pulls it open. We'll demonstrate that in just a sec here. Just like that. So you see it moves out, in and out. So super easy and super cheesy. And when I say cheesy, you can see that it has a place for another pawl in it, but the spring is only good for one side. I think on the later model ones they actually put two dogs on them because you can see the whole tip of this thing's all mushed over and ruined there. Cheezo! Okay, well, let's talk about some of the other features. This is really nice and easy to access the air filter here, and they came with a Tillotson or a Zama carburetor. Unfortunately, this has a Tillotson on it. Zama carburetors are, I don't like them. They're not very well made. Interesting thing is, Stihl owns them, but you look at the material they make them out of, and it looks like they're made out of lead. You know, these Tillotsons have a nice high quality alloy, and the Zamas are a lot more prone to zinc corrosion. So anyway, you know, the air filter, just 2 screws to come off, and this saw had kind of a hard life. I mean, the filter here has a little fuzzy stuff on it. I call it simulated peach fuzz. It's got big bald spots right here, so that needs to be replaced. And when I worked on Mr. C's, I have 2 of these. I got them both running. The mechanism here for the starting and the choke and whatnot is right out here. And it's all the way, you push it down here, all the way for choke. You let off and it comes up to half throttle and then off. So anyway, the mechanism in here was really screwed up on both of them. It took quite a bit of fiddling around to get them both working, and they work fine now. But I just wanted to show you that I don't know who copied who, but I wanted to show you where that one of the other saw companies, either one stole their design. So I'll be right back. Well, here's the infamous Pulan wood carp, or it's actually a Pulan wood shark, but since it's a bottom feeding saw and it's a piece of crapola, we'll call it the carp, because that's what it really is. So anyway, we'll come over and do a close-up here. Okay, even though you can't see the shaft, just like here, this one's covered by the air filter cover, but the layout is virtually the same, although it does have a separate choke lever. And so this has a weirdo carburetor. It's a 2-barrel, but that's why this thing's obscured. But anyway, the way that the layout with the lever here to control the functions for off, choke, and on are pretty much identical. So these saws are roughly about the same era. But I don't know which one copied who, but they did copy it almost exactly. So therefore, the air filter and the carburetor access and all that stuff is one of the goods. It's very simple to get to and easy to work on. Well, next we're going to talk about the clutch. Now, one thing on this one, everything on this saw pretty much is plastic. Like I say, it's pretty cheesy, but the one thing on this that's really nice is if you want to adjust the chain, there's a screw right here. It's very simple. Most saws that I have are behind or on either side there. So anyway, we'll get the cover off here. Okay, on the clutch here, the drive sprocket here was extremely wore out. Probably the original one on the saw, and the saw has a lot of time on it. Had a brand new chain on it, big heavy duty safety chain, but the sprocket was so worn that the teeth here are damaged, and the saw, you know, really needed a sprocket a long time ago. And these teeth are damaged to the point where each one would have to be filed to make it usable again. That one there is almost completely gone. But you know, like I say, the teeth and stuff, it's hardly been used, but it's a safety chain, so what we do with those. So anyway, the clutch is really easy to service here. It has a C-clip on it. Turn it around here. See this little circlip there. There's a washer, and then the sprocket Okay, well, the clutch drum comes right off. Well, like I say, the clutch is kind of the good and not so good. You know, the clutch lining here on this is really good. Has 3 shoes instead of 2 like many saws. And that little bitty bearing is puny, like it came off an RC car or something. Anyway, I say this thing is really simple and easy to work on for a lot of things here. Washer here. There we go. Let's put our circlip back on. Okay, well, there we go. It's all back together and ready to do some cutting. So, anyway, we'll show you some more features. Well, the other thing, so far, like I say, this is pretty easy to service, which is really nice. Okay, well, let's take a look at the exhaust system. So anyway, we've got that cover right off. And you can see in here, there's a bracket in here that holds this plate in, and it's got little holes, perforations in it, and that goes right onto the exhaust port. And when I did a muffler mod on the 025, it had these same holes, but only on one side. Now this has holes on both sides, but there's not very much carbon in here, and I know that Mr. C and his dad had used Stihl oil. And the key to using Stihl oil is that if you're running your saw or power equipment wide open, it doesn't seem to be a problem. But if you're running them at half throttle and running them up and down and stuff, it has a tendency to build a lot of carbon and ash. So anyway, this all looks really good in here. Now this cover has a bunch of little holes in it here, so it's pretty restrictive. I think I'll modify that, put some holes in here. But anyway, underneath here is a spark arrestor screen, so we'll take that all apart and give it a go through this. The thing we've talked about, the features and the ease of maintenance on it and whatnot, and why not to use Stihl oil in many cases. Anyway, one of the other things on this saw that is unusual, and the opening here for your foot to start it. My shoe won't fit through there, and so one of the reasons this saw is a real performer is it has 10.5 to 1 compression ratio, and it does not have a compression release. So anyway, I found a cure for it. This is my Stihl starting shoe, and so how this works, and since my big shoe won't fit under here and hits the throttle, I have this one and it goes right in, but it has this added feature that I can put this on it, and then I can just stick it right on there just like that, and it makes it really easy to start. Isn't that a nice feature? And you can't buy these at your Stihl dealer. This is a homebrew only. Well, I wanted to talk about the similarities. This is our little 025 and the 034 here. I think that they're similar in a lot of ways, but this chassis is shorter. Air filter cover is totally different. The base here is virtually identical. The layout for the fuel tank and the fill and the oil fill are all the same. So this saw is basically what I would call a Stihl 025 on steroids. It's really much more powerful. Both homeowner saws again. Well, the thing that's interesting about Stihl chainsaws is the later ones like these, they all look the same. If you don't know anything about saws, you'd go in, oh look, a wall of orange and gray. And it's like going to a John Deere tractor convention. Oh look, they're all green and yellow. But if they're enthusiasts, you'll know the difference on them. But like, here's some interesting differences on these two. The 031 here is a 48cc saw, and everything on it's metal. And the opening for the foot here, I can stick my shoe in there no problem, but not on this one. And spark plugs hidden under here. This one has instant access, but The anti-vibe system on this one I like a lot better. It's right out in the open, and all of this is metal here, and the anti-vibe on this one's all built underneath, and everything under here is plastic. So anyway, just little changes on them. So what's my overall impression of the 034 AV? I would recommend it on several things because, one, the power is it's more powerful than most other saws. It's 4 horsepower, and so that's really good for a 57cc saw. The ease of maintenance and stuff on them is really good. Easy access, air filter, whatever. The bad features are there's a lot of cheapo stuff on it, and the other thing that I found is they're really hard starting. And Mr. C had 2 of these, and I got them both running, and his dad said right from day one it was a hard start and saw, and in later years when he wasn't as strong as he was earlier, this thing went into the shed and sat for years until I got it. So anyway, even though the economy built the power head is really good. So anyway, the thing that would make this saw perfect, if it had a purge valve on the fuel system and a decompression valve to make it a lot easier to start. But this evolved into, I think, the 036, which was 61.5 cc's, had a little bit bigger bore, but same basic saw. And it did have a decompression valve and whatnot. So a lot of people have mentioned on this saw too, if the top ends are tired on them, oh, the 36 piston and cylinder bolts right on, and so you get 4.6 horsepower instead of 4. So anyway, you know, the saw's got lightweight, nice ergonomics, easy to service, and bad things is that some of the cheezo stuff on it, like the starter parts, and you got to be a gorilla strength arm to start it. So vintage is best. If you want to see this thing cutting, go back and watch our last video. So remember, vintage is best, and we'll see you on the next exciting video.